black jaguar, Pantera onca, crouches in a pool of water in Brazil. Black jaguars are also called black panthers, which is an umbrella term for any big cat with a black coat. The jaguar. It says here the main focus of this entry will be the jaguar, but it should be noted that the black panther is actually the same species as the jaguar. Okay? Again, it should be noted that the black panther is actually the same species as the jaguar. The black coat is simply a color variation. African and American panthers have different black genes. In jaguars, the black coloration is a dominant gene. Again, in jaguars, the black coloration is a dominant gene. What does that mean, people? Meaning that only one copy of the allele is needed to express that color. However, in leopards, which are from Africa, right? Black coloration is a recessive gene. Alright, so a leopard would need to have two copies of the allele to be black. Molecular genetics and evolution of melanism in the cat family. And we have different people here involved. And the institutions: Laboratory of Genomic Diversity, National Institute of Health, Department of Biology, University of Maryland, College Park, Maryland, Nestle Purina Pet Care Company. And just briefly, just so you can see the scientific research behind this, for those who are interested, it says here the cat family Felidae exhibits a wide diversity of coat colors and patterns, including melanism in at least 11 species in different color phases and several others. For example, in the small neotropical Jaguar rundi, coloration varies from dark brown, gray, the most common form widely regarded as the wild type, to light reddish. Molecular genetic studies in mice have identified several genes involved in pigmentation phenotypes, for fire brackets, including loci involved in melanism, such as agouti acid, agouti signaling protein, and extension MC1R, melanocortin 1 receptor. Recessive variants of agouti cause melanism, which is also induced by dominant mutations in MC1R. Melanism in the domestic cat, Felis cactus, is inherited as a recessive trait. So melanism, the color black in the coat of a domestic cat, is a recessive trait they inherit, suggesting agouti acid as a candidate gene, whereas a dominant inheritance pattern has been reported for melanism in the jaguar, Pantera onca. Alright, so this gene that causes the melanism in big cats, or in cats in general, it's dominant with the jaguar, the Pantera onca, which is native to America. So what does that tell you? Alright, where is it older? Where does it originate, this trait, this gene? Again, a black panther is the melanistic color variant of the big cat species. In Asia and Africa, they are leopards, Panthera pardus, and those in the Americas are black jaguars, Pantera onca. Again, we just read that the gene which makes the coat black, or the melanism in big cats, is dominant in the Pantera onca, the jaguars. Melanism in the American jaguar is conferred by a dominant allele. In the leopard of Asia and Africa, it is conferred by a recessive allele. So I just wanted to point this out because, when we're talking about Black Panther, we got to realize there is no species as a Black Panther. They're just talking about either a black leopard or a black jaguar, or even I believe some mountain lions could be dark, I believe, but it's generally a leopard or a jaguar. So, how do we know when we're talking about a jaguar or a leopard? What I want to show is basically where exactly in history and what people can correlate regarding their religious views and traditions and gods to the story of Wakanda and Black Panther in history. Alright? Jaguar is a Native American word meaning he who kills with one blow. Alright? He who kills with one blow. That's what jaguar means. All right, so just real quick regarding he who kills with one blow. Now we're going to talk about one of the abilities of Black Panther from Marvel, and it says here, due to being royalty of a strong nation like Wakanda, T'Challa was raised from a very young age how to fight. He was trained and groomed to be a warrior. We're going to see later on who were also in America warriors and how they dressed. Every day he would learn new techniques and fighting styles that would help him to defend himself from enemy attackers. Decades of training have allowed him to master all fighting styles on the planet. His fighting skills are so impressive that he was able to best Captain America in combat. Better yet, he took down Wolverine without breaking a sweat. And neither of those men are terrible fighters. Black Panther is nearly unbeatable and is strong enough to take out a foe with a single blow to the head, as shown in Black Panther Volume 4, number 20. So again, it says that Black Panther can kill with one blow, single blow. And again, in Native America, Jaguar means he who kills with one blow, just like Black Panther can take out a foe with a single blow. So the Marvel Black Panther was trained since young to be a warrior, right? So it says here, to become an Eagle Warrior or a Jaguar Warrior was not easy. Training started at a very early age. The Aztecs had a tough education system. Young boys were trained in fighting, battle tactics, killing, and most importantly, taking captives. The entire Aztec society was structured to simply be better at warfare than anybody else. The existence and purpose of the males focused on being a great warrior, just like the Wakandians. At the age of 17, young Aztec men became warriors and entered formal military training. Aztec warriors could move up in ranking by capturing enemies. To be eligible to join the Eagles or Jaguars, a man had to capture 4 prisoners in battle. Eagle warriors were adorned in eagle feathers and wore headgear with an eagle head on it, their faces looking out from the open beak. Jaguars wore suits made from the pelts of pumas, in parentheses jaguars, and associated themselves with their god of night. Alright, so see how important this jaguar god is, and they even dress like him, right? Just like the Black Panther in Marvel. And this is from the Aztec Codex called Mendoza, the Codex Mendoza. So this is something the Aztecs, taught the Spaniards when they arrived. The jaguar actually originated in North America. Alright, so originally jaguars were in North America, though now it only lives in Central and parts of South America. The jaguar moved south when Central America formed into a land bridge. Jaguars prefer habitats like jungles and swamps, but also like semi-arid mountainous regions, so long as the area is forested. The jaguar is also one of the few cats to like water, and often can be seen playing in it. Alright, so water doesn't faze a jaguar. You'll see it hunting in rivers, grabbing, anacondas and snakes and alligators and all kinds of things. As for the mythology and legends, the jaguar was seen as a god in Peru. Alright, so it was seen as a god in Peru, Mexico, and Guatemala in pre-Columbian America. So we know again about the god, the panther god, right, that the Wakandians held, admired or worshipped, right, which they get their powers from, the panther god, and they have all those statues there. So as you can see, the jaguar, which is again the same species as the Black Panther, was also a god in Peru, Mexico, and Guatemala in pre-Columbian America, all of Mesoamerica. It says the Mayans and Aztecs and Inca all worshipped the jaguar in some form, just like the Wakandians and their Black Panther god. In the pantheon, the jaguar god was second only to the snake god in religious importance, the Dracan. At the temple of the jaguar at Chichen Itza, the king had to walk beneath a frieze of procession of jaguars during his coronation ceremony. Again, so it says that at the temple of the jaguars at Chichen Itza, that's in down in Guatemala, I believe, or Yucatan in Mexico. The king had to walk beneath frieze of a procession of jaguars during his coronation ceremonies or some kind of ritual involving jaguars when the king had to become a king, right? Just like almost in Wakanda, the whole coronation involves the Black Panther, right? As in this case, the jaguar. In Mayan mythology, the jaguar was seen as the ruler of the underworld, and as such, a symbol of the night sun and darkness. There were Mayan priests called Balaam, who officiated at only the most important ceremonies. So again, we just read in Mayan mythology that the jaguar is the ruler of the underworld. So returning to the story in Marvel regarding Black Panther, says here in Fantastic Four 607-608, something big happened for Black Panther. No longer was he just king of Wakanda, he was also the king of the dead. Because of this, he gained a lot of new powers that enhanced his adventures as a superhero. Among these powers, the darkest of the bunch is necromancy. Due to his new and shiny title, Black Panther is able to command armies of the undead. Alright, so he's able to command the armies of the undead, something a ruler of the underworld could do, right? As shown in Secret Wars number 7, they will bend to his will and fight whatever battles he orders them to. He even managed to control the spirits of Necropolis and force them to help him fight against the dark villain. So it almost sounds like how Solomon, right, had that ring that he could control the jinns or the falling angels or whatever, the demons or the bad spirits, and make them do what he wanted to with the ring. So it sounds just like that. Along with the Aztecs and Mayans, the Inca also built temples to the jaguar. Okay, the Inca also. The jaguar is representative of power, ferocity, and valor. He is the embodiment of aggressiveness. For some, the jaguar represents the power to face one's fears or to confront one's enemies. However, they are also associated with vision, which means both their ability to see during the night and to look into the dark parts of the human heart. And regarding the vision of the jaguar and how the Maya saw it, from Marvel again we read, as if that weren't impressive enough, T'Challa can see different spectrums of light, including ultraviolet light. This ability allows him to see in total darkness, giving him the upper hand against any invader that would try and get to Wakanda during the nighttime. This also factors into his tracking capability. He is one of the best trackers in the Marvel universe. The jaguar often warns of disaster. He does not offer any reassurance. Along with physical vision, jaguars are also associated with prescience and the foreknowledge of things to come. Right? So advanced technology, maybe advanced science, right? Cats have binocular vision, meaning each eye can work by itself, which provides them with better depth perception. This gives more evidence of their connection with vision and foresight. The New York Times Magazine. Why Black Panther is a defining moment for Black America. Black Panther, by contrast, is steeped very specifically and purposefully in its blackness. Alright? Quotes. Blackness. It's the first time in a very long time that we're seeing a film with centered so-called black people, where we have a lot of agency, says Jamie Broadnax, the founder of Black Girls Nerds, a pop culture site focused on the sci-fi and comic book fandoms. These characters, she notes, are rulers of a kingdom, inventors and creators of an advanced technology. We're not dealing with black pain and black suffering and black poverty, the usual topics of acclaimed movies about the black experience. Right, so let's dodge this hijack, let's really dodge this whole tags that are put on you, like this black, because that's crayon color. Right, you had tribal names. Alright, but we do correlate, this does have a lot of impact, this movie, on so-called Black America, on so-called African American, aka slash Aborigines of America. Do you remember? Like the Mexica, as the Aztecs called themselves, the people of Tlaxcala also had an elite infantry divided into Eagle and Jaguar Warriors. Working in ceramic, Angel Seren designs and creates an original mask of such a Jaguar Warrior. His headdress surrounding the face and fierce fangs. This original mask is inspired by Tlahuicol, a renowned warrior, the artisan says. Depicted in the Florentine Codex, as well as in historic paintings, the Jaguar Warrior comes to life in ceramic. Angel Seren portrays the warrior wearing the jaguar's paws on his hands, as well as a mask that represents the fierce spotted cat. These fighting men formed one of the elite divisions of the Aztec army. Black Panther is the ultimate human predator, a peerless hunter and fighter. T'Challa utilizes supreme intellect, strategic brilliance, physical perfection, and hard-earned combat skills in the service of his beloved Wakanda and the world. Jaguars in Mesoamerican cultures. The representation of jaguars in Mesoamerican cultures has a long history with iconographic examples dating back to at least the mid-formative period of Mesoamerican chronology. The jaguar, Panthera onca, is an animal with a prominent association and appearance in the cultures and belief systems of pre-Columbian Mesoamerican societies in the New World, similar to the lion Panthera leo and tiger Panthera tigris in the Old World. Quick, agile, and powerful enough to take down the largest prey in the jungle, the jaguar is the largest of the big cats in the Americas and one of the most efficient and aggressive predators, endowed with a spotted coat and well adapted for the jungle, hunting either in the trees or water, making it one of the few felines tolerant of water. The jaguar was and remains revered among the indigenous Americans who live closely with the jaguar. All major Mesoamerican civilizations prominently featured a jaguar god, and for many such as the Olmec, the jaguar was an important part of shamanism. Alright, so the jaguar was a god and was very important in a ritualistic shamanism, spirituality. Alright, so you can see how that kind of correlates with Wakanda and how they had their panther god, and also the shaman who assisted in the coronation in the process of when T'Challa had to become the Black Panther. And it says here, a deity is a supernatural being considered divine or sacred. The Oxford Dictionary of English defines deity as a god or goddess in a polytheistic religion, or anything revered as divine. C. Scott Littleton defines a deity as being with powers greater than those of ordinary humans, but who interacts with humans positively or negatively in ways that carry human to new levels of consciousness beyond the grounded preoccupations of ordinary life. A male deity is a god, while a female deity is a goddess. Again, so this guy says that a deity is basically a being with powers greater than those of ordinary humans, sort of like the Marvel superheroes, right? According to Marvel, many forms of fiction feature characters attributed with superhuman, supernatural, or paranormal abilities, often referred to as superpowers or powers. This tradition is especially rich in fictional universes of various comic book stories, movies, and video games. Alright, so where do they get all these ideas for these fictional universes and comic books and video games? There's always a foundational truth behind all this. There is no rigid definition of a superpower. In popular culture, it may be used to describe anything from minimal exaggeration of normal human traits to magic, flight, super strength, projection of destructive energy beams and force fields, invulnerability, telepathy, telekinesis, teleportation, super speed, or weather control. So that's interesting because, it says here weather control, right? We heard earlier, and we're going to hear again, that Jaguar, one of his attributes, the Jaguar god, was to control the rain, or that he was considered the rain god, right? So weather control. of relating to an order of existence beyond the visible, observable universe, especially of or relating to God or God, demigod, spirit, or devil. Alright, so supernatural is related to God. Hawah, supernatural, of relating to or being above or beyond what is natural, unexplainable by natural law or phenomena, abnormal, of pertaining to, characteristic of, or attributed to God or a deity. So speaking about a god or a deity, in this book called Native American Gardening Stories, Projects and Recipes for Families by Michael J. Caduto and Joseph Bruchak, it says Wakanda, Wakanda, Arikara from the Arikara tribe, which means the great mystery, the creator. Again, the creator or God or a deity, the creator, Wakanda. Alright, so before we get into the whole name of Wakanda and the location and everything, let's talk about Wakanda and Marvel. So it says Wakanda is a fictional African nation appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. It is the most prominent of several native African nations and home to the superhero Black Panther. Wakanda first appeared in Fantastic Four, issue number 52, July 1966. Remember that, July 1966, and was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Hijack, right? They probably stole it from somebody who basically created a story of traditions of America, Native American. So we're gonna get into that more. All right. And again, it says fictional African, so it doesn't exist in Africa. It's a fictional place in Africa because it's not from Africa. I'm gonna show you where it's really from. So one of their main gods in Wakanda again is Bast, right? It says here, Bast, a warrior shaman. Again, shaman. We know that the Mayas and the Aztecs had shamans and they used the jaguar very symbolically with their shamanistic rituals, remember? A warrior shaman received a vision from the panther goddess Bast, who led him to the heart-shaped herb, a plant that granted him superhuman strength, speed, and instincts. Again, superhuman strength, supernatural, a deity, remember? The warrior became king and the first Black Panther, the protector of Wakanda. Again, so this panther goddess, right, is basically a Black Panther, just like the warrior who became a Black Panther slash jaguar, right? Because we know the gene is dominant amongst jaguars, and we're talking about ancient times. We're definitely talking about America, and we're talking about jaguars, where the gene is dominant. All right. So Bast, this is what Bast looks like. So Bast is basically a feline panther goddess, right, from ancient Egypt. It says here Bast is the Heliopolitan god of panthers and the patron deity of Wakanda in the Marvel Universe. The character first appeared as a totem in Fantastic Four, issue number 52, again in 1966, but does not physically appear until Black Panther number 5 in 1999. It says within the context of the stories, Bast is similar to the Egyptian goddess of the same name. And it says Bastet or Bast was a goddess of ancient Egyptian religion, worshipped as early as the 2nd dynasty. As Bast, she was the goddess of warfare in Lower Egypt. So she was the goddess of warfare, a warrior, and she dressed and she looked like a panther or a jaguar, right? Jaguar warrior. And we're gonna get into the Amazonians later on, but a female warrior, right? And she's a panther. So again, we're talking about ancient Egypt. We know we're talking about America. We know ancient Egypt, the true old world, was over here. Alright, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Marvel story, how it correlates a little bit, well not a little bit, actually a lot, with what we're reading in the traditions of the Native Americans in America. Again, according to Wakandan legend, when the 5 tribes fought for control of Wakanda, a warrior shaman received a vision from Bast, which led him to the heart-shaped herb, granting him the power to become king and the first Black Panther. In Wakandan mythology, when the soul of a man reaches the afterlife, it is brought by the goddess Bast and Sekhmet to a mythical green valley, where it can run freely in peace for all eternity. Man, Past and Present by A.H. Keane and A. Hingston Quiggin, A.C. Haddon. It says here, religious conceptions were based on a belief in Wakanda, or Manito, an all-pervading spirit force. A spirit force, Wakanda, supernatural, right? Supernatural. Whose cult involved various shamanistic ceremonials consisting of dancing, chanting, feasting, and fasting. You hear this? Most distinctive of these is the sun dance, practiced by almost all the tribes of the plains except the Comanche. It is an annual festival lasting several days in honor of the sun for the purpose of obtaining abundant produce throughout the year. And in small print here it says, Wakanda is the term employed when the power believed to animate all natural forms is spoken to or spoken of in supplications or rituals. Again, supernatural, superpowers, magic, shaman. By many tribes of the Sioux family of the Sioux. Manito is the Algonquin name for the mysterious and unknown potencies and powers of life and of the universe. Wakanda, says Miss Fletcher, is difficult to define, for exact terms change it from its native, uncrystallized condition to something foreign to aboriginal dot. Wakanda is an aboriginal dot. You hear that? Vague as the concept seems to be to one of another race, to the Indian it is as real and as mysterious as starry night or the flush of the coming day. Handbook of American Indians. And in the same book, I just wanted to let you know who we were talking about mostly in this book, and it's the Dakota. It says here the Dakota or the Sioux are universally conceded to be of the highest type, physically, mentally, and probably morally, of any of the western tribes. Their bravery has never been questioned by white or Indian, and they conquered or drove out every rival except the Ojibwe. So they were very warlike, right? Warriors. Their physical characteristics are as follows. Dark skin. Again, the Dakota's physical characteristics are as follows. Dark skin. Again, Black Panther. We're talking about the Americas. Jaguar Warriors. Wakanda. Dark skin faintly tinged with red. Copper-colored tribes found here by the Europeans, right? Facial features more strongly marked than those of the Pacific Coast Indians. Nose and lower jaw particularly prominent and heavy. Head generally mesocephalic and not artificially deformed. They are a free and dominant race of hunters and warriors, necessarily strong and active. Their weapons of stone, wood, bone, and horn are tomahawk, club, flint, knife, and bow and arrow. Now returning to the fictional Wakanda, right? In Wikipedia it says the etymology. There are several theories for the Wakanda name. The name may be inspired by a god called Wakanda. So we just heard, right? Wakanda, Arikara called it's the creator, which is God. And also the Dakota also see Wakanda as basically God as well. And we're going to read a little bit more about that later. So again, this is inspired by a god called Wakanda from the Native Americans from the Great Plains, right? We know that's true. Or Wakanda's a fictional African tribe, right? So which one do you think it's from? The real history or from the fictional history? So again, in Wakanda, in the Panther cult, Bast, the Panther goddess, based on Bastet, the ancient Egyptian deity, right? Remember, deities, supernatural, superpowers, is the primary deity of Wakanda. After the vibranium meter fell on the number of Wakandians were painfully mutated into demon spirits and began attacking their fellow Wakandans. T'Challa, ancestor of Bashinga, became the first Black Panther and closed the vibranium mound to outsiders. Mound. Where do you find a lot of mounds? Earthen mounds, pyramid mounds in the Americas, right? Forming a religious order that guarded the mound and fought to keep the demon spirits from spreading across the kingdom. The Black Panther is a ceremonial and religious title. It's a title. The Black Panther, Black Jaguar, right? Jaguar Warrior the title given to the chief of the Panther tribe, the chiefs. As part of the cult's ceremonies, a chosen Black Panther is entitled to use of a heart-shaped herb. The herb enhances the physical attributes of the person who consumes it to near superhuman levels, similar to the super soldier serum. So basically they become a god, supernatural strength, super ability, superhuman levels, right? A deity, it becomes like a god, the Jaguar god. The Sacred Wisdom of the Native American by Larry J. Zimmerman. It says here, the rite of the Omaha included most of these elements. It was a 4-day fasting rite undergone by all Omaha adolescent males, fasting, and by any females who so desired. The name refers to the trance experienced by the youths in the course of the rite. In it, they became oblivious to the outside world and conscious only of the inner being. The rite recreated the Omaha origin myth. The origin myth, right? The boy would find an isolated spot where he would spread clay over his head in honor of the animals who went to the bottom of a great body of water and brought up mud from which earth was created. Alright, so remember in Wakanda, when he drank the herb, he had to lay down and get covered by the sand or that dirt, whatever it was. And as this ritual they do here, the Omaha, recreating the Omaha origin, just like Wakanda is recreating what happened in the beginning with Shinga, right? When he first took the vibranium, when the meteor fell and the Panther showed him the herb, they recreated to become the Black Panther, just like they do here. The adolescent males, right? They go into this trance, right? Just like in Wakanda, he goes into a trance, and it says here that he prayed to Wakanda, the mysterious power that controlled all of nature. So this Omaha tradition says that the young boys, when they're in this trance, they would pray to Wakanda, the mysterious power that controlled all of nature. The boy filled his mind with thoughts of health, successful hunting and war, and a happy long life, but it was taboo to ask for special favors. Wakanda, it was believed, would respond with a vision or a dream that would include a sacred song. So Wakanda, right, responded with a vision, just like when T'Challa goes into the trance, he has a vision, right? He's with his elders, right? So it says that Wakanda here would respond with a vision or a dream that would include a sacred song. Dreams of hawks, elks, or thunder might bring great fortune. The sun was a good luck charm connecting the boy to the powers of the universe. He could use it throughout his lifetime as a way to call for help from guardian spirits in time of crisis. Alright, so he can call help from guardian spirits, as Wakanda told him. These superpowers. The Native American Book of Knowledge, Easy Read Edition by White Deer of Autumn. It says, in the real beginning, Wakanda made the people, men, women, and children. After they were made, Wakanda said, go. So the people took all they had, carried their children, and started toward the setting sun. From an Omaha Indian creation account. Again, Wakanda. Historical Dictionary of Native American Movements by Todd Leahy, Nathan Wilson. Wakanda. Wakanda is the Lakota belief similar to the Iroquois Orenda and the Algonquin Manitou. It is a supernatural force that permeates the universe. Again, supernatural, a deity, a god, right? Supernatural, Wakanda. Just like Marvel superheroes have supernatural powers. So talking about supernatural forces and shamanistic magic, it says here, in the surviving Olmec archaeological record, jaguars are rarely portrayed naturalistically, but rather with a combination of a feline and human characteristics. Again, so these jaguars in Olmec archaeological records, they're hardly seen in their natural form as an animal, but rather combined as a human, so like a human jaguar, or like the Black Panther of Marvel, right? These feline anthropomorphic figures may range from a human figure with slight jaguar characteristics to depictions of shamanistic transformations in the so-called transformative pose, kneeling with hands on knees, to figures that are nearly completely feline. So they're talking about we're gonna get into it is basically the were jaguars, or how they transform like a werewolf. They have the were jaguars. So it's saying that these shamanistic priests, right, were considered to transform into jaguars, or these gods they worship, right? One of the most prominent, distinctive, and enigmatic Olmec designs to appear in the archaeological record has been the were jaguar. The so-called were jaguar motifs runs through much of Olmec art, from the smallest jade to some of the largest basalt statues. The motif is found inscribed on celts, votives, axes, masks, and on elongated man figurines. Also termed somewhat more neutrally the composite anthropomorph, or the rain baby. The were jaguar's body is shown as baby or childlike. Its eyes are almond-shaped or occasionally slit-like. Its nose is human. Its downturned mouth is open, as if in the mid-squall. The upper lip is everted and toothless gums are often visible. Olmec motifs associated with the were jaguars include a cleft on the head or headdresses, a headband, and cross bars. Transformation figures. Many other Olmec figurines combine human and animal features, including these were eagle left, although figurines showing such combinations of features are generally termed transformation figures. Some research argue that they represent humans in animal masks or animal suits, while others state that they likely represent shamans. This transformation figure displays bat-like features. Most common, however, is the jaguar transformation figure, which show a wide variety of styles ranging from human-like figurines to those that are almost completely jaguar, and several where the subject appears to be in a stage of transformation. Continuing, it says, one early team that was identified was the half-man, half-jaguar form known as the were jaguars. The were jaguar is most easily identified by its human-like form combined with a downturned mouth, an elongated feline snout, and a cleft head. This is exemplified by the basalt head found in the Museo Regional de Antropología at Villahermosa, which clearly marries the head of a man with the mouth of a jaguar. This example also features an X-shaped cross in its right eye, which is a common glyph in Olmec art. Again, so it's telling us that the X is a common glyph in Olmec art. Is that an X or a cross? Right? Is that Paleo-Hebrew they're talking about? Is that the top? The meaning of the X is not entirely clear, so they don't know what the X means. We have to dig on that, as it is used in many different contexts and research hasn't settled on a single meaning. So there we go. They don't know anything. That looks like a cross. Many Native American tribes and nations use it. The crossing, right? The crossing of the lines of the energy points. The mark, right? X marks the spot, a monument, a holy site, a sacred site. The top, all right? Here it would seem most obvious that it symbolizes blindness or death of the eye. However, it could mean the complete opposite, for the X is often seen as the attire of the were jaguar. So X is often seen as the attire of the were jaguar, an X or a cross, and other deities, where it is believed to symbolize the underworld. With the jaguar having been revered for its nocturnal prowess, it may be the X signifies the ability to see in the darkness of the underworld. Maybe, huh? Alright, so can we link humans transforming to panthers, right? Black panthers or jaguars, and Native American mythology and religion and tradition? Yes, we can. Just like in the story of Marvel, the Black Panther, a human becoming a panther. And again, Native American symbols and meanings for the Black Panther center on jaguars, a word that roughly means kills in one blow, just like the Black Panther can kill with one single blow. This creature's original habitat was in North America, but it slowly moved southward, which is why we find stories in Mexico and Peru. Both these regions uplifted Jaguar as a god. Both Mexico and Peru, where you find all these pyramids and ancient civilizations of America, uplifted the jaguar as a god, a deity, right? Supernatural, often associated with the underworld. And this divine cat played an integral role in coronation rites. All right, this panther, right, which centers on the jaguar, played an integral role in coronation rites, just like in the movie Black Panther. Wakanda, Wakanda, a term employed by the Omaha, Ponca, Osage, Quapaw, Kansas, Otto, Missouri, and Iowa tribes of the Sioux family, when the power believed to animate all natural forms is spoken to or spoken of in supplications or rituals. The dialects of the first 5 tribes are closely related. The Omaha and Ponca speak practically alike. The Osage, the Quapaw, and Kansas differ somewhat from the former in pronunciation, while the Otto, Missouri, and Iowa have so far changed their speech as to be unintelligible to the others. The word Wakanda, spelled Wakanda by Riggs in his Dakota dictionary, is given by him as a verb signifying to reckon as holy or sacred, to worship. Alright, so again, Wakanda can mean in Dakota dictionary as sacred or to worship or holy. We're gonna hear about the Huacas of Peru, South America, and how they are considered sacred monuments, rocks, even pyramids or places. Waka, Wakanda. Right, and continuing, it says the noun is Wakan and is defined as a spirit, something consecrated. So Wakan, Waka, Wakan, Waka. Again, defined as a spirit, something consecrated. The same authority gives the meaning of Wakan as an adjective as spiritual, sacred, consecrated, wonderful, incomprehensible, mysterious. Or in other words, supernatural, deity. Offensive or not, Black Panther, fictional Wakanda, translates as God to some tribes. But what do the members of the Osage Nation say regarding this? According to Shannon Shaw Duty, a member of the Osage Nation and editor of the Osage News, the Marvel spelling is different, but the pronunciation is the same. I have not yet seen the film, but I have read some reviews in that they spell it Wakanda. In our Osage language, the word for God is Wakonda or Wakonda. I have been told how they pronounce it in the film is exactly how we pronounce it. So in essence, it is the same word, said Sean Duty. Native American Mythology by Hartley Burr Alexander. Visible nature seems to have mirrored to the Omaha mind the ever-present activities of the invisible and mysterious Wakanda, and to have been an instructor in both religion and ethics. Natural phenomena serve to enforce ethics. Old men have said Wakanda causes day to follow night without variation and summer to follow winter. We can depend on these regular changes and can order our lives by them. In this way, Wakanda teaches us that our words and our acts must be truthful, so that we may live in peace and happiness with one another. Our fathers thought about these things and observed the acts of Wakanda, and their words have come down to us. All experiences in life were believed to be directed by Wakanda, a belief that gave rise to a kind of fatalism. In the face of calamity, the thought, this is ordered by Wakanda, put a stop to any form of rebellion against the trouble and often to any effort to overcome it. An old man said, tears were made by Wakanda as a relief to our human nature. Wakanda made joy, and he also made tears. An aged man standing in the presence of death said, from my earliest years I remember the sound of weeping. I have heard it all my life, and shall hear it until I die. There will be pardon as long as man lives on the earth. Wakanda has willed it to be so. So again, Native American legends, Wakanda. Tribal affiliation, the Omaha, the Ponca, and the Osage. We saw the other ones also as well who were affiliated with Wakanda. There's alternate spellings, Wakanda, Wakonta, Wakuda, Wakonda, or Wakonta. In pronunciation, Wakanda, just like in the movie. Alright, it says here Native American creator, deity, right? Supernatural, Hawah, God, high God. Related figures in other tribes, Wakan Tanka, the Sioux. Earthmaker, Ho-Chunk, Kichi, Manitou, Ojibwe. Wakanda is the great creator, power of the Osage, Omaha, and Ponca tribes. Wakanda is abstract, omnipresent, creative force who is never personified in traditional Siouan legends, and in fact did not even have a gender before the introduction of English with its gender-specific pronunciation. So they didn't have no idols to Wakanda, the creator, omnipresent, the most high, creative force. Alright, so I just wanted to show you this from the Grammar and Dictionary of the Dakota Language collected by the members of the Dakota Mission, edited by Reverend S.R. Riggs. Alright, so this is a historical supposed interpretation of the Dakota language. And I just wanted to show you how they do use, as you can see here, highlighted under where it says Jehovah Taku Wakan. So it says Jehovah, Jehovah, Hawa, Jehovah. As you can see, they sound like they're speaking Hebrew. Alright, and it says Taku Wakan, which right under it says God. So Wakan, remember? Sacred spirit, consecrated spirit, Wakan. And that is the word for God in the Dakota language, supposedly. And again, right here you see where it's right next to God, it says Wakan Tanka. Wakan Tanka. Again, in the Lakota way of life, Wakan Tanka is the term for the sacred or the divine. This is usually translated as the Great Spirit. Alright, so we're talking about the Great Spirit. You know how all the Native American tribes, they worship the Great Spirit. We're talking about the same deity, same creator, Hawah. It says, however, according to Russell Means, its meaning to closer to great mystery or supernatural, right? Omnipresent, great mystery, as Lakota spirituality is not monotheistic. Before their attempted conversion to Christianity, the Sioux used Wakan Tanka to refer to an organization of sacred entities whose ways were mysterious, thus the great mystery. So again, this is from Wikipedia, so we gotta dodge the hijack. This is Europeans' version of what they saw, or what they interpret of these tribes. So again, Wakan, Waka, or Huaca, or Waka, says here in the Quechuan languages of South America, a Waka or Waka, look how they spell it, W-A-K-A, Waka, is an object that represents something revered, typically a monument of some kind. The term Waka can refer to natural locations, such as immense rocks. Some Wakas have been associated with veneration and ritual. The Quechua people traditionally believed every object has a physical presence and two Kamaken spirits, one to create it and another to animate it. They would invoke its spirits for the object to function. So Waka, a revered place or sacred place, right? But they perform rituals. Waka, Wakan, Waka de Luna. The Waka de Luna, or Temple of the Moon, was part of the ancient Moshe capital. In Moshe, right, we get the Mexica, right, Moshe, and we get also Hebrew way of saying Moses, Moshe, Meshi, Mexica. It was constructed in northern Peru between the 1st and 8th centuries, using millions of adobe blocks. The Moshe civilization developed great religious complexes, or wakas, formed by successive entombments of older structures, filled in and covered with mud, brick, or adobe. Alright, again, so the Moshe considered Huacas religious complexes. Again, sacred places, just like Wakan. Again, Huaca, also spelled Huaca, Quechua, sacredness, or Itqu, holiness. Again, Huaca, Huaca, Huaca is the same. Wakan, sacredness, holiness, just like Wakan, Wakantanka, Wakanda. Same people. Ancient Inca and modern Quechua and Aymara religious concept that is variously used to refer to sacred ritual, the state of being after death, or any sacred object. The Spanish conquistador Pedro de Cieza de León believed that the word meant burial place. Huaca also means spirits that either inhabit or actually are physical phenomena such as waterfalls, mountains, or man-made shrines. The aforementioned shrines, which are found throughout the Inca territory from Ecuador to Chile, may be as simple as stone piles piled in a field, apachitas, or as complex as stepped pyramids that were once topped with canopies and carved images. So these huacas can be stepped pyramids, right? These sacred religious complexes are also pyramids, huacas, huacans. So how many sacred places or huacas do we have throughout the Americas, right? So it's not just confined to one location, Wakanda or Huacas or the Wakan, the Great Spirit, sacred place. And one more thing about the huacas of Peru. It says here in La República, a Peruvian online newspaper. I don't know if it's printed in paper too, but it says, in their interior environments, they're talking about the Huaca of La Luna. Archaeologists found a 2-meter long wall where you can see the image of 4 jaguars that seem to parade through the interior of the ancient Moshe temple. So look at that correlation with jaguars in this Huaca jaguars. All right. 3,500-year-old friezes discovered at Huaca Garagay in Lima, Peru. So in this other Huaca in Lima, Peru, they found some sculptures on the wall here buried in this Huaca, in this temple, right? This Huaca, this is supposedly 3,500 years old, and these friezes, as they call them, are carved on a pilastered column placed at the Huaca ceremonial courtyard. But I saw also a video of this excavation of this Huaca, and it says that the sculptures here are actually human anthropomorphic felines, or a human, half feline, or half panther, half jaguar, right? Just like Wakanda, all right? So in this Huaca, we have another correlation to feline and humans, and this is in Peru. So we just learned about Huaca, right? So we know about Wakan, Huaca, a sacred place. So we have this place right here in Guatemala. It's an archaeological site, a city called El Peru. Huaca. It says here, in search of the lost empire of the Maya. Huaca, El Peru. In about 656, King Jaguar throne. Again, King Jaguar. In Huaca, El Peru in Guatemala. A snake alley was laid to rest in this city-state. His tomb contained painted ceramic figurines, 4 to 9 inches tall, depicting a mythical ritual from the underworld. Again, underworld, jaguar, right? The lord of the underworld. So regarding this figurines that was found in this tomb, I just want you to take a look at these ones right here. Look at the physical characteristics of these persons, especially the one on the left. Now, unless you're blind or you practice willful ignorance, this is a so-called Negro person. Just look at it. This is in Huaca, El Peru, right? Negro people in Huaca, Wakanda, Huaca, sacred place. Ancient Mayans from Guatemala. It says El Peru, also known as Huaca, same way that Huaca, right? In Peru with the H, but it's pronounced Huaca, W-A-K-A, just like the site. So El Peru, also known as Huaca, is a pre-Columbian Maya archaeological site occupied during the pre-classic and classic cultural chronology periods roughly 500 BC to 800 AD. Dutch the chronology hijack. The site was the capital of Maya city-state and is located near the banks of the San Pedro River in the department of Petén of northern Guatemala. El Peru is 60 kilometers, 37 miles west of Tikal, another important Mayan city. It says here that the etymology, the site was named El Peru when rediscovered in the 20th century. So it was named El Peru, that wasn't the name. Hieroglyphics identified and deciphered at the site have indicated that the ancient name for the site was Huaca. So it was called Huaca, not El Peru, but they must have seen a similarity with the Huacas, right, of Peru. When they found Huaca and they called it El Peru, maybe. Or maybe they related that they were related, these civilizations. While both names are currently used interchangeably, El Peru predominates on extant maps. In the published literature, a conflated name is generally used, El Peru Huaca. So the indigenous people of this city called it Huaca. So this was obviously a sacred place because we know what Huaca means. Wakan, Wakanda, supernatural, sacred, omnipresent, right? It says the first recorded meeting between Teotihuacan or there we go again, Huaca, Teotihuacan, a sacred place. The Maya occurred at Huaca. So it says that the first recorded meeting between the Teotihuacan people and the so-called Maya occurred in Huaca in 378, 10 days prior to the arrival at Tikal. This moment is known among Mesoamerican archaeologists as La Entrada, or the entrance in Spanish. During the early phases of early classic, Huaca was allied with Tikal. During excavations of the royal Maya city of El Peru Huaca in northwestern Petén, Guatemala, an international team of archaeologists has discovered the tomb of Lady Cabell, one of the great queens of the classic Maya civilization. So I wanted to reference this queen, right? And the reason for that is, as it says here, an ancient monument adds spicy twist to Maya Game of Thrones saga. It says Maya hieroglyphs, Stela 44, a monument at the El Peru Huaca archaeological site in Guatemala, referred to a Maya snake queen known as Lady Kun. The queen is thought to have played a role in multi-generational story of power shifts in the Maya world. So again, returning to Queen Cabell, it says the tide turned yet again later in that century, with the Snake Lord allies retaking Huaca. One of the principal figures of the era was Lady Cabell, who held the title of Supreme Warlord in Huaca. So a female warlord or warrior, right? In Wakanda, female warriors. All right, so you see where I'm going with this, right? We're gonna get more in depth in this subject a little bit later, but it says here Fredo and his colleagues unveiled evidence suggesting that Cabell was as powerful in her day as Cleopatra was in ancient Egypt, or as Queen Daenerys is in the fictional Game of Thrones. So again, who is Lady Cabell? In another page, it says Lady Cabell ruled Guatemalan city of El Peru Huaca with her husband Kinich Bahalam during the 7th century from 672 to 692. Remember Bahalam, associated with Jaguar. Serving as the military governor of the Huaca kingdom. She was the military governor of the Wakanda, military governor of the Wakanda, a Huaca kingdom under the auspices of the House of the Snake King, to which she belonged. Her official title was Kalumti, or Supreme Warrior. Alright, a warrior queen woman, just like in Wakanda, Black Panther, right? Which meant that she outranked her husband. Her identification was confirmed by project epigrapher Stanley Gwinter and his reading of a series of glyphs inscribed on a small alabaster jar from the tomb. So they're talking about this glyph right here. So El Peru Huaca, right? Huaca, Wakanda, it's just all the same. See how much influence, right, this word, this vibration has. So this is what the place used to look like, according to the tour guides there. This is from the actual archaeological park there, and most of it today is still covered up, you know, with vegetation and dirt. A lot of the pyramids and mounds, they're covered up. They're not even dug up. I watched the video, and the only parts that it was actually dug up was most of it was from looters, which have been coming in and looting all these pyramids, and then they recover them back, and they haven't been unburied. They're still there. Why they don't unbury this site? Why don't they show us all this stuff? I don't know. What is in here? I mean, the discovery and the release of information for this site is recent, all right? And this is not known to many people, all right? Again, El Peru, Huaca, a sacred place, Huaca. So we see the vibration that Wakanda, this word, carries in Native American culture and tradition, right? Basically, God or the creator. Hawah, Wakan, Hawah, that Wa, right? But regarding a real location, you know, we know in the movie it's a fictional place, but as if you just do a little searching, you'll see that if you search for any locations called Wakanda, you'll see that it'll pop up in the Americas, mostly in North America. All right. So I just wanted to go ahead and correlate a little bit with this as well, and talk about specific places named Wakanda. So first, I wanted to talk about this place called Wakanda Springs in Glen Elder, Kansas. And these are the facts and legends, supposedly. And it says here, fact. Based on fact and legend, Wakanda Lake inherited its name from a prominent historical site called Wakanda Springs, which was located about halfway between Glen Elder and Cocker City, 3/4 of a mile south of Old US Highway 24. So this is fact. The mineral springs was an interesting phenomena on the plains of north-central Kansas. Its pool basin was set in a 300-foot wide mound, rising 40 feet above the surrounding Solomon River Valley. Alright, so this spring was on a mound. Alright, as you can see, you know, is this an ancient tree? And also says surrounding the Solomon River Valley. Solomon River Valley. Again, you know, we know that Solomon is the son of King David. We are linking King David up with Prester John. And Prester John had in his land a mythical fountain of youth, right? Or a spring. Wakanda Springs. So this is right next to Solomon River Valley. Alright. The spring's pool was 50 feet in diameter and 15 feet deep. Although there's a myth that the pool was bottomless, the water contained calcium, magnesium, iron, silica, sodium chloride, sulfate, and bicarbonate. Geologists thought that the mound was formed by the deposits of minerals forced up by artesian pressure in the water. The mineral springs around which the legend evolved was once a ceremonial gathering place sacred to all the Plains Indians. Again, this mineral springs, Wakanda Springs, Wakanda, was a sacred gathering place, a ceremonial place, a Waka, Wakanda, Waka, a monument. Remember, Waka could be a monument, piece of stone, sacred, a place. Later it became a health resort for the white man until Lake Wakanda covered the site. Yes, Lake Wakanda covered the site. This is underwater now. So again, the spring has all these minerals, right, that help heal your body. All right, we'll read later how the Native Americans consider it sacred, especially because of its healing powers. So with that in mind, regarding the Fountain of Youth. So for example, it says here, the Fountain of Youth is a spring that supposedly restores the youth of anyone who drinks or bathes in its waters. Tales of such a fountain have been recounted across the world for thousands of years, appearing in writings by Herodotus, 5th century BC, the Alexander Romance, 3rd century AD, and the stories of Prester John. Alright, again, Prester John, King David. Early Crusades, 11th, 12th centuries AD. That's when he existed. Stories of similar waters were also evidently prominent among the indigenous peoples of the Caribbean during the Age of Exploration. Early 16th century, who spoke of the restorative powers of the water in the mythical land of Bimini. But the name, linked most closely to the search for the Fountain of Youth, is 16th century Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de León, who allegedly thought it would be found in Florida. Alright, in Florida. In the history of Hernando de Soto in Florida, or record of the events of 56 years from 1512 to 1568 by Barnard Ship, it says this regarding the Fountain of Youth in Ponce de León. It says here, chapter 3, it says Juan Ponce de León was the first who discovered Florida. He was a gentleman born in the Kingdom of León and had been governor of the island of Puerto Rico. As the Spaniards then thought only of making new discoveries, he equipped 2 caravels and endeavored by every means to discover the island of Bimini, on account of the report that there was there a fountain which restored youth to old men. But after having searched in vain for this island, the tempest cast him upon the coast, which is opposite the north part of Cuba, and he named this continent Florida. Alright, so he named the whole continent, basically a lot of the land, the mainland, not just the little state of Florida. He named it the continent of Florida. And without considering whether it was an island or the mainland, he proceeded to Spain to ask permission to conquer it and obtain it. So Florida, at this point in time, was basically the whole South. Like half the country was Florida. It wasn't just the state, as you can see in old maps. If you look for it, the Spaniard old maps will show Florida as being basically the whole South, all the way almost to Texas. And you can see that in this case, if we really look at it, Kansas falls in Florida. So if we're talking about this healing spring, this fountain of youth, right? Next to Solomon River Valley. Remember, Prester John had a fountain of youth. Prester John is King David, his son is Solomon. This spring which heals, a sacred place, Wakanda, where the tribes gathered in the Solomon River Valley, would fall in Florida if we're talking about ancient Spanish accounts of this area. Alright, so is this the mythical fountain of youth that they went searching for in Florida? Again, we got the Solomon River Valley next to Wakanda Springs, which is now Wakanda Lake. And in this map of the fictional Wakanda from Black Panther, right, we see this lake, right? And it's called Twisted Visions Lake. They got your vision twisted because you're looking at the wrong side. Twisted Visions Lake, you get it? Right under it, as you can see, I'm assuming it says King Solomon's Mines. Did you think there was anything related to King Solomon and Black Panther? And over to the left here, we have a river, and it's called River of Grace and Wisdom. Who is known to have a lot of wisdom and grace? Solomon, right? Solomon was wise. So Wakanda Springs, right? We got the Solomon River, right? And next to it, Solomon River Valley. Again, this river right here, River of Grace and Wisdom. Basically saying the River of Solomon, because Solomon is grace and wisdom. Alright, now one more thing I just want to highlight is, you can decide whether it's coincidence or not. I was looking at Lake Wakanda, Google Maps, right? As you can see, it looks very similar to this lake in the fictional Wakanda, which is Twisted Visions Lake. As you can see, it has here in the bottom, right, the Piranha Cove, and you can see Wakanda Lake kind of sticks out there as well. And a river that goes up, the Grace and Wisdom River, or the Solomon Forks of the Solomon River. It's very similar. Are they hijacking something and creating a fairy tale? You tell me. So again, Wakanda Springs, or Great Spirit Springs, was a natural artesian spring located in Mitchell County near the towns of Glen Elder and Cocker City in the U.S. state of Kansas. It was a sacred site for Native American tribes of the Great Plains and for a time became the site of a health spa for American settlers. With the completion of the Glen Elder Dam in 1968, the mineral springs disappeared beneath the waters of Wakanda Reservoir. And again, here is the drawing of Wakanda Springs from 1873. As you can see, it looks like the stump of a tree, this mound where water comes out of it. Wakanda Springs was situated on the bank of the Solomon River. Again, Solomon River, below the north and south forks of the river. The water flowing from the spring had deposited a large cone of travertine around it. In 1866, surveyor David E. Ballard described it. The spring itself is a natural curiosity, it being located on the summit of a cone-shaped limestone rock. So it's on the summit of a cone-shaped limestone rock. So this is a Huaca, sacred place, a monument. The rock is circular, about 200 feet in diameter at the base and about 30 feet high. Upon the summit of this rests the spring, the basin being circular and about 30 feet in diameter. Its outlet is a trough apparently formed by the action of the water upon the rock. The water in the spring is about 20 feet deep and exceedingly strong with salt. The name Wakanda is from the Kansa language and translates as spirit water or great spirit spring. Alright, so like this knowledge, right? The spirit water. This is the healing, that pure water. You see, Wakanda, that spirit water. Are you receiving that spirit water? That fresh, pure water from the Great Spirit. However, it is located in territory controlled by the Pawnee, who knew it by the names Pahoa. Pahoa? Pahawa. Remember, I've been saying Hawa. Here you go. Pahoa. Wakanda, another name, Pahoa. And Kitsawitsuk, the later translated as water on a bank. In the Pawnee tradition religion, the supreme being, Tirawa, Hawa, allots supernatural powers to certain animals. Okay, so supernatural powers to certain animals. Jaguar, Panther, Jaguar Warrior, Black Panther Marvel. These animals, the Nahurak, act as Tirawa's servants and messengers, and intercede for the Pawnee with Tirawa. The Nahurak had 5 lodges, of which Wakanda Springs was one. Alright, so you can see that the Pawnee held Wakanda very sacredly. Alright, it was a Waka for them, Wakanda. Alright, one of their Nahuraks, one of their lodges. Alright. Again, this was a place where Great Plain Indian tribes gathered. Alright. Kansas Senator Samuel C. Pomeroy toured the region in 1870 and marveled at what he saw. Said Pomeroy, "At first I declared it the crater of an ancient volcano. The water occupying its hollow center is phantomless and about 200 feet in diameter in a perfect circle," with an exclamation. "It is always brimming full and running over on all sides. The hills about it were as sacred to the Indians as those about Jerusalem." Okay? Again, the hills about it in this spring called Wakanda Spring, this Wakanda, the great spirit water, says these hills about it were as sacred to the Indians as those about Jerusalem. You see what they covered up? A sacred Huaca place that was yours. An ancient place you considered as holy, as sacred as Jerusalem, Perusalem. So not only was just this a sacred place, this water, this mineral water, right, healed. So it says that the Indians believed the water to have healing powers. Practically every Indian tribe visited the site at one time or another, including the Pawnee, Wichita, Kiowa, Sioux, the Arapaho, the Comanche, the Miami, the Crow, and others. The Cheyenne and the Arapaho were the last tribes who roamed the plains around the springs and the Solomon River Valley. Right, all these tribes in the Solomon River Valley, a neutral area where all Indians would come to worship the Great Spirit on their annual migration with the buffalo herds. All right, so this was an annual place where the Indians would come and worship Wakanda, the Great Spirit, and get and receive that spirit wata, that pure water, and heal, fountain of youth. In 1906, Dr. G.P. Abrahams, who had operated a bathhouse at Mankato, Kansas for many years, purchased the property from McWilliams. Abrahams was well acquainted with the extraordinary qualities and advantages of the Great Spirit Spring. The water had won a medal for mineral waters of superior medicinal qualities at the 1904 St. Louis Fair. So you hear that? It won a medal because it was healing. You drank this water, you healed. Alright? There are several legends surrounding the Great Spirit Spring. However, the following is probably the most true. Wakanda was the beautiful daughter of an Indian chief, so Wakanda. From the beginning, the elders of the tribe knew it was unwise for the chief to name his daughter after a god, which is what they considered the spring to be, a waka, sacred monument place. As Wakanda grew older, she liked to wander the countryside. One day she came upon an injured warrior. After a short conversation, they realized they were from enemy tribes. But that did not stop Wakanda from nursing him back to health. The warrior's name was Takota, the son of the opposing chief. Eventually he regained his strength and went to Wakanda's father to ask for her hand in marriage. Harsh words were spoken and a battle was fought around the springs. Takota was standing near the edge of the spring when one warrior of Wakanda's father shot an arrow that hit Takota. Mortally wounded, he fell into the spring as he died. Heartbroken, Wakanda dove into the water after him, calling to the gods to give back her lover. She never resurfaced. The warriors drew back in awe, and to this day it is believed that the spirit of Wakanda dwelled in the spring, and perhaps even still in this place of its namesake, Wakanda Lake. So before continuing, I just wanted to show that in North America, there's a lot of wakas, or sacred places, and in regards to springs as well, a lot of springs. In this book called Sacred Places North America, 108 Destinations by Brad Olson, it says, Manitou Springs was a neutral gathering place for many Native Americans. It was recognized that the springs' unusual effervescence was the result of the Great Spirit breathing air into the water. For thousands of years, various Plains Indians and mountain tribes paid homage to the sacred mineral fountains. The immediate area surrounding the springs was considered neutral territory for every tribe. So they didn't fight when they were there. It was neutral, just like the Wakanda Springs. And it was sacred, just like Wakanda Springs. Manitou Springs, like all natural spring areas in North America, were special locations where anyone could relieve their physical ailments without the concern of having to defend themselves. The Native American diet was especially hard on digestive tract, and the soda water was the perfect tonic. It also had miraculous healing properties. For their dry skin, the word Manitou comes from an Algonquin term that translates as Great Spirit. So we read earlier, right, that the Lakota call, their Great Spirit or Creator, Wakanda, and it said that this is the same as the Algonquin Manitou. So we're talking about the same thing. Manitou is Wakanda, and this is a waka, a sacred place, another spring. But it is not the name given by the tribes who worshipped at the springs. So it says they didn't use Manitou. That's not the name they gave. Right? That's what it says here. These cool water springs were holy to the Ute, Apache, Arapaho, the Sioux, the Comanche, the Shoshone, the Kiowa, and Cheyenne. Alright, this is a holy place, a Waka, another Waka, from all those tribes, who knew them as the medicine fountains, fountains of youth, healing, alright, spirit water. They believed the medicinal properties were bequeathed from the breath of the Great Spirit itself. Hawah, breathe in, ha, and then breathe out, wah. The breath of the Great Spirit itself to be to exist. Hawah, Wakan. It was a common practice for Native Americans who convalesced at Manitou to leave gifts at the edge of the springs, such as beads, clothing, talismans, blankets, robes, knives, and other items of gratitude. So again, this word, this vibration, Wakanda, has much influence in North American traditions, Native American traditions, and also names of places, as you can see. It's all over the place. Wakanda, it says, a term used by Native Americans of the Omaha people and the Osage Nation when praying, and also applied by them to objects or phenomena regarded as sacred or mysterious. Again, Waka. And as you can see, if you can go ahead and Google, you'll see Wakanda pops up all over North America. And, because there's a history behind that. Everything has a foundation and an origin, right? So it says here, Wakanda State Park. Wakanda State Park is a public recreation area covering 1,054 acres near LaGrange in Lewis County, Missouri. The state park features water recreation on 6 small lakes. And I wonder if these lakes, if some of them are man-made. I was trying to dig on that. But who knows? Most likely, they like to cover up stuff and build dams and cover up stuff. Because they also have a Wakanda Lake in Wakanda State Park. It says this park was established in 1960 on 273 acres, transferred from the Missouri Highway Commission. Its name, Wakanda, was taken from the Osage Indian word meaning something consecrated or spiritual. Further land purchases by the state included a 777-acre tract added to the park in 1992. Look at those numbers, 777. Alright, so again, as you can see, more correlation of what Wakanda means. And now I want to talk to you about Wakanda Park Mounds. This is in Wisconsin, Wakanda Park. I'll read it to you. It says, located in Wakanda Park in Menominee on the shores of Lake Menominee. This group is what's left of once large cluster of mounds that were submerged when the Lake Menominee was created by damming the Red Cedar River. So these mounds were submerged. They're underwater now, just like Wakanda Springs. Out of 17 submerged mounds, 14 were excavated by archaeologists. Some of the mounds contain burials, including an individual wearing clay mask. I wonder if that was a Jaguar or Panther mask. The feature found in only 2 other mound sites in Wisconsin. Scenes of yesteryear digging those Indian mounds. This is a photograph of a section of the Indian burial mound group in Wakanda Park. Within a week after this picture was snapped, all but 3 of the 17 mounds had been hastily investigated and destroyed. A Guide to Archaeology Parks of the Upper Midwest by Deborah Morse Kahn. It says here, Wakanda Park. 3 large oval mounds, known as the Upper Wakanda Mound Group, can be found in traditional placement on the terrace ridge above Lake Menominee, a widening in the Red Cedar River that forms the heart of this small city. An additional 17 mounds were once located below this ridge, but 1950s dam construction flooded them out. Excavation prior to flooding indicated a radiocarbon date to sometime between 1000 and 1400 AD. The headquarters of the Dunn County Historical Society is located in the park. And this is in Wakanda Park, right? Pine Street at Lake Menominee. So as you can see, they have a habit of creating these dams and flooding these Huacas, these sacred Native American places. Wakanda, Wakan, the creator, supernatural, sacred. Waka, holy. The earliest known residents of the area were people from the Trempelu Hopewell culture of the Middle Woodland period. Evidence from their culture includes a mound from the Wakanda Mound group in Wakanda Park. So this, so they're linking this with the Hopewell cultures, with the great mound, pyramid mound builders of the Mississippi culture, right? It says most of these mounds are thought to be from effigy mound cultures from this time period. So what they mean by effigy is that these mounds, had shapes like animals, or they depicted something. So I wonder what kind of animals these were depicting that are now underwater, under Lake Menominee. Could these effigy mounds underwater be actually depicting a panther or a jaguar or a black panther? Is this wishful thinking? Well, let's take a look at this. It says here, Panther intaglio, right? This is in Wisconsin. It says discovered in 1850 by Increase A. Lapham. This is the only known intaglio effigy mound in the world. So we just read what an effigy is, right? We know that in Wakanda Park, they're underwater now, these effigy mounds. All right, it says that this effigy mound is also in Wisconsin. So it says it was excavated for ceremonial purposes by American Indians of the effigy mound culture. So the same people that did the Wakanda Park mounds, same culture. About 1000 AD, this says here Panther intaglio effigy mound or Panther mound. It says it's in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. Is a reverse mound, a depression in the shape of a panther or water spirit, scooped out by prehistoric Native Americans. What did it just say? Water spirit or spirit water, right? Wakanda in Kansa language means spirit water. So this panther, right, also is a water spirit according to the Native Americans, the prehistoric Native Americans. All right, so panther, jaguar. In the mid 1800s, 10 of these reversed effigy mounds were found in Wisconsin, but all except this one have been destroyed. It was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1970. A part of the tale has been covered of 10 other recorded intaglios, all now destroyed. 8 were similar and representing the panther, and 2 represented bears. So panther, what are we talking about? We're talking about jaguars. We know jaguars, we read earlier, were native, actually first came from North America. So they roamed North America before they went down to Central and South America. If you start doing the research, they tell us that jaguars came out of Asia through the Bering Strait, and so that would mean that they were first in North America, if we go with that reasoning. But who's to say they weren't here already? Because we know that the original Panthera onca, which was very large, supposedly lived in prehistoric times, was in North America. So again, this effigy mound, right, is the only one in the world. Who knows if Wakanda actually had a panther mound, which is under the water right now, and most likely it did. Jaguar, right? Now, how do we know when they're talking about the jaguar when they're talking about panther? Because we read earlier about the jaguar, right? So can it correlate to this? So it says here, at the site, when you get there, there's this sign there that they put there, right? And it says Panther Mound. To the native peoples who live here, this water spirit represented the god of the underworld and has both spiritual and environmental significance. Well, first of all, they just said water spirit. What did we learn? Wakanda means in Kansa language. It means spirit water. Water spirit. What is the difference? Spirit water, water spirit. Right? And then it says this water spirit represented the god of the underworld. Didn't we read earlier that jaguars were considered the lords of the underworld? Jaguars, remember the jaguar gods, lords of the underworld. It says here that the Panther Mound represented the water spirit. To the natives people that lived here, your ancestors, this water spirit represented the god of the underworld and has both spiritual and environmental significance. This is a Waka, sacred, holy, right? Spiritual significance. Waka, Wakanda, Panther, Jaguar, water spirit, spirit water, supernatural. Alright? Alright, so we're an hour and 30 minutes in. I'm glad you're still here. I just want to talk about one more thing regarding the Black Panther Marvel movie. And that, we talked about the Jaguar Warriors earlier. Now I want to talk to you about the Dora Milaje, the women warriors from the movie Black Panther, and how they are supposedly a representation of the ancient Dahomey Amazons of Africa. So let's dig into this. It says here, Dahomey Amazons. The Dahomey Amazons, or Mino, which means our mothers, were a Fan all-female military regiment of the Kingdom of Dahomey in the present-day Republic of Benin, which lasted until the end of the 19th century. They were so named by Western observers and historians due to their similarity to the mythical Amazons of ancient Anatolia and the Black Sea. So they were named Amazonians, like the fabled Amazonian women warriors. Alright? They're not the actual Amazonians. You get what I'm saying? They were named due to the similarity to the mythical Amazons of ancient Anatolia and the Black Sea. It says here origin. Alright, so pay attention. It says King Huegbaja, who ruled from 1645 to 1685. The third king of Dahomey is said to have originally started the group, which would become the Amazons as a corps of elephant hunters called the Gebeto. Alright, so again, when did they start? When did this warrior clan group, women warriors, when was it originally started? It says here in between 1645 to 1685. Alright, so that was started after. Alright, it doesn't go any more ancient than that. So they're not referring to the ancient Amazonian warriors that we had taught about in Greek mythology and legends, right? But look at the word Amazonians. Where does this word come from, Amazonians? If you don't know, we get the story of the Amazonian warriors mostly from Greek mythology, and it says here, since the epics of the Homeric poets, there have been references to mysterious and frightening stories of the Amazons. In the Iliad, composed around the 8th century BC, the Amazons were referred to as a man-like seasoned fighters. Man-like seasoned fighters. The implication is that in war, they were a match for men, and in terms of their prowess, physical strength, and courage. The Amazons appear in other Greek myths, such as the adventures of Heracles and Theseus. Herodotus recorded detailed information, possibly spurious, but nevertheless fascinating, about this tribe of women. In his account, the Amazons were presented as horse riders, skilled with the bow and arrow, deft with the spear, and ignorant of traditional women's work. Alright, so we're taught that this is a fable, this is a legend, it's just mythology. But where do they get these legends and mythology from? You know they hijacked the aboriginal truth. Because as it says here, it says the Amazons, the mythological Amazons, a kingdom of fierce warrior women, had fired European imaginations since the days of antiquity. Many of the conquistadors and explorers were on the constant lookout for legendary things and places. Christopher Columbus claimed to have found the Garden of Eden, and that's in the Orinoco when he got there. I believe on his third or fourth voyage. He said that this must be coming, this river Orinoco, from the terrestrial paradise. And Juan Ponce de Leon's search for the fountain of youth, we just already talked about that, right, are but two examples. As they made their way along the river, Orellana and his men heard tell of a kingdom of women and decided they had found the legendary Amazons. They believed, based on accounts extracted from natives along the way, that the mighty kingdom of the Amazons was a few days inland, and that the river villages were Amazon vassal states On one occasion, the Spanish saw women battling alongside men in one of the villages they raided. These they assumed must be the Amazons, according to Father Gaspar de Carvajal, whose eyewitness account survives today. The women were nearly naked, fair-skinned warriors who fought fiercely and who shot a bow so hard as to drive an arrow deeply into the wood of the Spaniards' raft. Amazons in America by William Bond. The first reports of Amazon warriors in America comes from Christopher Columbus on March 4, 1493. Columbus wrote that he had encountered women warriors on the island of Martinique. He also claimed they covered themselves with copper plates and used bows and arrows made of sugar cane. This story is supported by Alfonso Ulloa, who accompanied Columbus on all 4 of his voyages to the New World. Also wrote about the women warrior of Martinique in his book Historia del Señor Don Fernando Colombo. In this book he wrote that the locals claimed that the island of Martinique was the only populated by women. Men from other islands would only come to the island at certain days of the year to collect boys and would bring the boy up. The Spanish also reported other islands called Las Mujeres, which means women in Spanish, and Consumel, where again women warriors were seen. Consumel is in Mexico. Unfortunately, these early Caribbean people were killed, raped, and enslaved by the Spanish conquistadors. Amazons were also reported by the Spanish in California. Right? Queen Khalifa, California, right? Or Queen Sheba, California, the emblem of America. Again, so the Amazons were also reported by the Spanish in California. Unfortunately, these reports are very controversial because not only were these tribes ruled by women, they were also black. Again, not only were these tribes ruled by women, they were also black. Alright, again, emblem of America shows the Queen Khalifa, right? Supposed to be an allegory, but it's actually representing the black nations, so-called black nations, the Black Californians, the aboriginals of California. When the Spanish first came to California, they found 2 races of people: the Indian people with racial features similar to Chinese, Japanese, Philippines, and black Amazons. Alright? Up until 1862, the origin of the name California was a mystery, until scholars discovered a novel written in 1521 by Garcia Ordonez de Montalvo, the book called The Exploits of the Very Powerful Cavalier Esplandian, son of the excellent King Amadis of Gaul. Within this book was the story of Queen Califia, an Amazon queen. So it seems that when the Spanish first began to explore the northwest coast of America and discovered tribes of black Amazon women, they called the place California after this fictional Queen Califia. Fictional, right? But we know better. Now, the idea of black people in America before the Europeans discovered it is very controversial, but we've already debunked all that. We know the truth, right? The foundational truth. Who were the copper-colored tribes of America. Yet archaeologists have discovered bodies of people different to that of the Asiatic Native Americans. In Brazil, a female skull was discovered in Lucia, having a long and narrow skull that was 12,000 years old. The same is true in Mexico. In Penon, another woman's skull was found of a similar type, 13,000 years old. What is even more controversial about all these skulls is that they're very much the same as Australia, Aborigines, or African Bushmen. So if that is the case, what happened to these people? The black people in California just didn't suddenly disappear. They were later reported by the French and English explorers. The problem is that as black slaves from Africa were imported into America, they were confused in the minds of the European settlers with the native black people. Again, as black slaves from Africa were imported into America, they were confused in the minds of the European settlers with the native black people. As these people had no voice in the white man's history, their origins were obscured and forgotten. Okay? And until now, we're relearning, we're remembering, we're waking up, right? Alright, let's continue. In the book, The Discovery of the Large, Rich, and Beautiful Empire of Guyana, Guyana with a Y, right? with a relation of the great and golden city of Manoa, which the Spaniards call El Dorado, performed in the year 1595 by Sir Walter Raleigh. It says here, with regard to the account of the Amazons, it is not given us from personal observation, but as a report received from Indians, and current at the period we Raleigh wrote in his Guyana voyage, in which even Condamine, the French academician, considered probable, adducing many testimonies in its favor in a discourse delivered before the French Academy. The account of a tribe of Amazons is almost coeval with the discovery of America. Christopher Columbus was told that the small island of Madanino or Matinino, Montserrat, was inhabited by warlike women. And you get that account in many different books, alright? Montserrat. Orellana, in his descent of the Marañón, was cautioned at the mouth of the Napo by an old chieftain to beware of the warlike women, and asserts that he afterwards met female fighting in the ranks of men. Hernando de Ribeira, the follower of Cabeza de Vega, the conquistador of Paraguay, asserts in 1545 that he heard a nation of Amazons who lived on the western side of a large lake, which was poetically called the Mansion of the Sun, because that orb sang in these traditions. The missionary Gili heard from an Indian of the Huaca tribe that the Aike Binanos, literally the women living alone, inhabited the banks of the Cuchivero, which falls into the Orinoco opposite the island of Taran, between Caycara and Alta Gracia. Condamine further adduces the testimony of two Spanish governors of the province of Venezuela, Don Diego, Francisco with a question mark, Portales and Don Francisco Torralba, which agreed in substance that a tribe of warlike women dwelt in the interior of Guyana. It is, however, extraordinary that if the tradition originated with Europeans, it was not only still in existence at the time of Condamine's voyage, but is even now current among all the Indian tribes who have had intercourse with the Caribs. The Indians of the lower Corentyne, of the Essequibo, and the Rupununi declared to us in the gravest manner during our travels in these regions that the separate hordes of females still live on the upper part of the Corentyne in a country called Marawone. The accounts we received respecting the country they inhabited were accompanied by such details that the tradition assumed some probability. Alright, they're saying some probability. This is real. These are facts. It would, however, be unjust to condemn Raleigh's proneness to a belief in their existence, when we find that even Southey, the learned historian of Brazil, makes his remark, "Had we never heard of the Amazons of antiquity, I should without hesitation believe in those of America. Their existence is not the less likely for that reason, and yet it must be admitted that the probable truth is made to appear suspicious by its resemblance to a known fable." Again, this is not a fable. The Amazons are from the Amazons in America, warlike female groups, and this is before the 1600s, before the Dahomey Amazonians of Africa. And just one more thing, it says here, the journal of Christopher Columbus during his first voyage, 1492-93, and the documents relating to the voyages of John Cabot and Gaspar Corte Real from the Halieuc Society. And it says here, on Tuesday, 15th of January, the Admiral now wished to depart, for there was nothing to be gained by further delay after these occurrences and the tumult with the Indians. Today he had heard that all the gold was in the district of the town of Navidad, belonging to their Highness, and that in the island of Caribe there was much copper, as well as in Matinino. The intercourse at Caribe would, however, be difficult, because the natives are said to eat human flesh. Their island would be in sight from thence, and the Admiral determined to go there, and it was on the route and thence to Matinino, which was said to be entirely peopled by women without men. He would thus see both islands, and Columbus himself said on 4th March 1493 that these women warriors of old Martinique covered themselves with brazen plates and used bows and arrows of cane. These Amazons have many of these plates. Alfonso Ulloa, a companion of Columbus on the famous voyages, wrote in his Historia del D. Fernando Colombo that the admiral believed that the Indians Caribs told him of the Amazons of Matrimonio, or Martinique, because he saw the spirit and strength these women displayed. Ulloa also makes a significant comment, not that he appreciated the significance of the female cults of lunar worship practiced by these West Indian Amazons. Talking about West Indian Amazonians, so we have here Ana Kaona, Golden Flower. She was from Haiti. It says this is around 1490. That's how she, I guess, presumably looked in 1490. Ana Kaona was one of the highest caciques or chief, katzin. Remember what that means. It's Hebrew for chief too. Cacique, katzin. Ana Kaona again was one of the highest caciques or chief who possessed the island of Hispaniola. When the Spaniards settled there, her date of birth and date of death are both unknown. She is a significant icon in early Haitian history, the primordial founder of Haiti, and she is considered to be the first Haitian hero. She is revered and immortalized in the intertwining histories of both Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Her name, Arawak Anacaona, means golden flowers. She married Kaonabo. So let's remember Anacoa because it says here Anacoa became chief of Jaragua. After her brother's death, her husband Kaonabo, suspected of having organized a recent attack on La Navidad, a Spanish settlement on northwestern Hispaniola, was captured by Alonso de Ojeda and shipped to Spain, dying in a shipwreck during the journey, as many other Taino leaders died on Spanish ships away from their native lands. So who got enslaved and sent in ships? Indians, Native Americans. Future video, I'll show you the transatlantic slave trade where it started. The Taínos, being ill treated by the conquerors, revolted and made a long war against them. In 1503, during a meeting of 80 caciques, including Ana Caona, the Spanish governor Nicolas de Ovando ordered the meeting house to be set on fire to burn them alive. Similar to what centuries later occurred to Rigoberta Menchu's family in Guatemala, Cacica Ana Caona and her Taino noblemen were arrested, all accused of conspiracy for resisting occupation, and executed. Prior to her execution, Ana Caona was offered clemency if she would give herself as concubine to one of the Spaniards which was common in that area. Standing with her fellow Taínos in solidarity, the Caribbean indigenous female leader, Cacica, shows execution over colluding with the Spanish enemy, her refusal cementing her legend. Ana Caona remained rebellious and independent until her violent public death. Because Ana Caona refused the sexual offer of the Spanish intruders, while others were shot, Ana Caona was executed by hanging. She was only 29 years old. And it's really, I'm going to say fucked up what happened to the ancestors here of America. And this female warrior. This is before the 1600s. Alright, this is a real Amazonian. Right, from the fables of Greek. You can see this is not a made-up story. She's part of history, a real character, a female warrior, a West Indian Amazonian. When we're talking about fables and Amazonians, Greek legends, we're talking about ancient times. And when we're talking about the true old world, we're talking about America. All these mythical lands, these legends of these people that lived in these lands, these were Aboriginal Americans. This whole time, they've been talking about you. Everything. All these fables, all these stories, all these movies, all these legends, right? As it says here. Now, I know this isn't the Wakanda from the comics, but at least you know the origin of the name. Just like the origin of the name Black Panther comes from the Lowndes County Freedom Organization, LFCO, also known as the Black Panther Party, created by Stokely Carmichael in Alabama in 1965, using the Black Panther as its logo. Yes, it started in Alabama, not California, in 1965. What is the significance about this? Well, the Black Panther character from Marvel, well, as it says here, it says it's a fictional superhero appearing in American comic books published by the Marvel Comics. The character was created by writer-editor Stan Lee and writer-artist Jack Kirby, first appearing in Fantastic Four issue number 52, cover dated July 1966, a year later that the group in Alabama, the Black Panther Party, was formed. A year later, right? So returning to the founding of the Black Panther Party in Alabama, it says here, beginning in 1965, Nelson joined scores of fellow Black Lundy's County residents and attended mass meetings at Mount Gillard Baptist Church off U.S. Route 80. The house of worship was a natural gathering place for the local African American community, and it doubled as a way to skirt a draconian injunction that barred more than two black people from speaking together in a public place. Within the relatively safe confines of that humble country church, they absorbed lessons about the goals of the struggle for equal rights and how to organize for change, delivered via speeches by black civil rights leaders like Stokely Carmichael and Huey Newton. Today, these giants of civil rights history are remembered as two of the founding fathers of the Black Panther Party, which many believe originated in Oakland, California, in October 1966. But the true roots of the Black Panther Party go back to the poor, rural county Nelson has called home her entire life. And again, so Black Panther Party started in 1965 in Alabama, 1 year before Black Panther character was created and came out in Marvel. So, I mean, I went to their website, and regarding the Panther God Bass we talked about earlier in the video, they don't even hide it, man. I mean, this image right here they put on top of all these Marvel comic books in the background looks just like, almost just like the old Black Panther Party logo, as you can see. So, you know, they're playing games, but you gotta understand now your history, and that all these stories, all these fables, all these Hollywood productions are about you. So I know this was a long video to present what my take on the movie Black Panther and what I thought about it. Hey, it was a really good movie, but I really think they purposely put the whole idea and that whole vibration that is Native American over there in Africa on purpose. You know, now that we're waking up, we're finding out things. Right when we're waking up, this movie comes out. Hey, I just wanted to present this, and let's be logical. Let's see all this correlation. Can it all just be coincidence? No, you gotta understand where Marvel and all these people, all these writers for these comic books, all these movies, right? They get their inspiration from, right? So again, thank you for taking this journey with me. Thank you for being here. Thanks for all the support, all my followers, all the comments. Much love, much ahab to all of you. Shalom and Hawah, Wakan, Waka, Hawah.